Inside the Valley. I'm lots to cover this Sunday morning. UTPA wants to help Spanish speakers get better medical care. We'll tell you about an interpreter course they're offering that can make a world of difference for these folks. Plus, you can help out the Cameron County Children's Advocacy Center. We're going to tell you how they're teaming up with some former Cowboys for a football camp. Details on that still to come. But first, a major cleanup underway at the Arroyo, Colorado. Joining us with all the information on this, we have Jaime Flores, and we also have Ruben Saldana Jr. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, before we get to all the details on the Arroyo, Colorado, I actually want to talk about the Arroyo, Colorado, because a lot of people here, including myself, don't really know too much about it, like where it starts, where it ends. Give us some history on this.
Okay, the Arroyo, Colorado is actually an ancient tributary of the Rio Grande River. About 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, there was a sea level rise, and all this area was covered with water. When the water receded, the Rio Grande River began to cut a new path, the one that we know today that goes out towards Brownsville. But the Arroyo, Colorado was still there. The channel was still there.
So my understanding is it used to be part of the Rio Grande.
Right, that's
and
correct.
That's no longer the case, right?
Right. And before we put all the dams up, when the Rio Grande River would flood, the floodwaters would go into the Arroyo, Colorado. So when people started settling this area, it looked like it was still a river. So it was real clear. It had lots of fresh water, lots of fish, lots of palm trees, and it kind of looked like an oasis, kind of like the Rio Grande did. And then at one point, after we dammed it and everything, we started to use it in a different way. So it starts basically in Mission, right around Antiduas Bridge, or the Antiduas Dam. And right there, they're able to divert water from the Rio Grande like they're doing right now, and take it out to the Gulf of Mexico. But it also serves several other purposes. It drains all of our wastewater. All the water that goes from your home into the sewer system goes to a wastewater treatment plant. Once they treat that water, it's released into the Rio Grande River. It also takes all our irrigation return flows. So anytime a farmer irrigates their land, the leftover water that comes off the land goes into ditches, drain ditches, and eventually makes its way to the Rio Grande, to the Arroyo, Colorado. And it also drains all of our cities, all the urban stormwater. So if you go into the city and you look at the curb, you see these gutters. Well, that's a storm drain, and that water is collected. But unlike the wastewater, it's not treated. It goes directly into the Arroyo, Colorado. So whatever might be carried by that stormwater gets in there. So we have these three different components of water trying to get into the Arroyo. And it's very important for the valley, because we can't have the waste here, we can't have the stormwater here. And if we had all the irrigation return flows backed up, it again will cause flooding. Mm-hmm. So that's also the three sources of contamination we have.
Okay, so you've got this huge cleanup underway right now, mm-hmm, to clean this all up. You've been working on this as a volunteer, Ruben. What are some of the things you've seen in there? Trash? Tell me.
Well, I guess the big problem with some people is tires and mattresses and things like that are very expensive to dump properly into landfills. So what we're doing is we're throwing them into the Arroyo. And what I do. So you
find a lot of that stuff in there?
Oh, all the time. Lawn chairs. Not mostly like bags and stuff like that. You see that, but most of the trash that you're seeing is trash that people dump because they maybe can't afford to dump it in maybe a landfill or properly dispose of it. So we're doing it into the Arroyo instead.
So you're talking about some pretty major items, whether maybe some appliances, tires, mattresses that you mentioned. What does this do to the water system?
Well, it can back it up, because it's supposed to convey the floodwater away from the urbanized areas. So it can create a backlog, especially if it's in a storm drain. But eventually, if it does make it out to the Arroyo and out to the bay, whatever it might be in the mattress, the springs, the coils, they start to deteriorate and they start to mix with everything else that's in the water. So with the amount of water we have right now, it can there's really no telling what can happen, because it's kind of like a big experiment. With so much water, so much pesticides, so much herbicides and trash, it's kind of wait and see what's going to happen. And there's people monitoring it. Like once a week, Texas Parks and Wildlife is out there, people from universities are out there, and we're trying to make sure that the public is safe when they're out in the bay or at the beach. So it's an ongoing thing that everybody is looking at right now.
You know, describing this, you know, it sounds like it's pretty bad right now with all those things that are in there, but what has it been like? Has it gotten worse because of all the floodwaters?
Well, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, the amount of water might dilute everything, which is good, but the amount of fresh water that's entering the bay can be bad for the bay, because we're in a hyper-saline lagoon. It's like the only 1 out of 8 in the world, and the only one in the United States. And by hyper-saline, we mean it's above, the salt levels above what it normally would be in the Gulf. So it's very, very salty. So all this extra fresh water can dilute it, and that affects our seagrasses, that affects the fish, and all the habitat that the fish need out there to survive. And it can also affect the birds, anything that's out there. But at the same time, since we have so much floodwater coming in, we have seeds that are coming in from northern Mexico that would normally come every time it would flood, and we may not have gotten those seeds recently. So there is a positive side to all the flooding, because we'll get a reintroduction of native seeds to this area, and we might even have like fish populations that are on the other side of the dam, like certain type of bass, that can come into our waterways and breed with the fish that are here that have been kind of landlocked behind or on this side of the dam. And when they breed together, you have new genetic material into the gene pool, so that can help increase how big the bass get, how big the fish get, and keep them from inbreeding with each other. So there's good and bad with all the flooding.
I would imagine that a cleanup like this takes a massive amount of people to come together to make it happen. You've been doing it for several years now already, right?
Right.
What does it take? What is it going to take?
Well, first and foremost, it takes a lot of money. The wastewater treatment plants that were here in the valley have been outdated for some time. So every wastewater treatment plant in the valley has been upgraded to 2010 standards. They're stricter standards. They're state-of-the-art facilities. So that was a lot of money that the state has put in, the cities have put in. We've gotten grants and loans from various sources. The farmers are using best management practices that help them save money, but it also helps them keep some of these pesticides and herbicides and the nutrients from getting into the arroyo.
And what about manpower? Like volunteers here, like Ruben, what are you all going to be doing out there? Do you all actually go and pick up trash out of the arroyo, or what do you do?
Well, what my job is I go and test the water and report it back to the Texas Stream Team, which is part of the TCEQ organization. And whenever I'm there, I of course, any trash that I see, I pick it up and throw it in the back of the truck and, you know, throw it away the way it needs to be, because, you know, it backs up stuff, and what I'm testing for is, you know, stuff like dissolved oxygen and E. coli and things like that. And when we have all this water backed up and it's not moving, we're having dissolved oxygen rates at 30%, when fish need an oxygen rate of 60% to survive.
Okay, we've got 30 seconds left, so real quick, like, we want to make sure folks at home know what they can do to help you all out. What should they be doing, and how can they help you out?
Well, of course, keep all the trash out of your storm drains. You can go to arroyo.org, to our website, and there's other things they could look at. You can become a volunteer like Ruben for the Texas Stream Team, and just make sure and do the right things as far as throwing away your trash properly, not throwing any pesticides down the drain, bleaches down to the storm drains, gasoline, paint thinners, anything that might harm the environment. Just try and dispose of everything properly.
Make it safer for us.
That's right.
Okay, thanks so much for joining us, both of you, and sharing that important information.
Thank you.
And when we come back, some former cowboys will be in the valley very soon to help out the Children's Advocacy Center in Cameron County. Details on that still to come. Stay with us.